Hi, I'm Ellie Frost, and this is a video I wanted to make about how to trust your intuition more and why it's important. So often I think, especially as entrepreneurs, it is really important to follow your gut and learn how to trust your intuition. And a lot of the time, working with people and coaching them is about helping them to trust their intuition and follow it, because your intuition is kind of your guidance system of what you really want. So whatever you're denying or resisting, hang on my dog, on some level your intuition is going to be guiding you towards what you do want. Hang on. So I really wanted to talk about how to trust your intuition more and how important that is. And that's very, very different to being guided by your emotions. See, your emotions are often governed by the thoughts you have. So if you're thinking in a particular way, or you're very afraid or stressed, that's what's governing your emotions. So although you've got to process your emotions and deal with them, being led by them and making your decisions just on your emotions isn't always a good idea. But trusting your intuition often is. Oh, my dog is barking so much, so I'm going to move. But when you follow your gut and your intuition, it's much less gentle than an emotional pull. So it really comes from a place of flow, and it really comes from, it doesn't feel like a pull, it feels like an alignment, it feels like an energy really. It's about kind of what you want at a higher level, and there's something else that comes into play to get you there, because when you trust your intuition, your subconscious mind already knows what you know. So it's not like trusting your intuition means that you let go of all your logical, rational knowledge. It just means that there's a sense you've got of something that you could do, or that's there for you, or a way in which you could achieve it, that you might not have evidence for right now. So you might not, it isn't showing up. But really, I think that a lot of, as I say, working with people is helping them to trust their intuition more, because often it's right. Now, sometimes the reason that we abandon our intuition and what we know is because we start following it and then we think something hasn't worked out because it hasn't sort of manifested in the way that we thought it would. So then we feel like, oh my God, we were wrong and we should have been much more logical and rational. And that often isn't the case. It just might not be that, given the fullness of time, we haven't really seen how it can unfold, because often things don't work out exactly, especially when we're acting more intuitively, how we thought they would. But it doesn't mean that it might work out in a better way, in fact, or it might be coming another way. So I think it really is important to understand how to trust your intuition and to learn how to be more intuitive in all of our decisions, especially in the business, because sometimes that sense for things is everything, and sometimes it's really impulsive, but it doesn't feel urgent. It's not the same as when you're acting from fear or some kind of other emotion where it feels like, oh my God, that's a different kind of pull. When it's intuition, it's kind of more gentle, it's more quiet, it's not a load of noise in your head, but it's quite a strong feeling. And generally, it gets you to where you want to be. So I really think as well with intuition, you can't really judge it. Like, it doesn't necessarily make sense. It's not a decision you make and you kind of get it at the time. Sometimes you just feel, God, I really feel I should be doing this. And often those things will be the things that work out for you, but they're not the things that you have, evidence for to start with of why that would be a good idea. So that's why we get quite caught up in not following our intuition and maybe taking longer or justifying things. So it is about not judging it. It is about getting in touch with that flow. It is about knowing that it won't feel stressful actually when you do it. It's just like this kind of deeper knowing that you have. And sometimes uncovering that is, sometimes resisting that is what all the kind of emotional stuff is about, because when you resist your intuition, you resist what you feel inside for too long, it does cause stress, and there is this huge sort of tension and pull. So it is a lot of the reason why we get kind of stressed out and we get frustrated, is because we're kind of going against what we feel and we're going against what we know. And so I just wanted to encourage you and dare you to try and get in touch with that more. It's the same space where your creativity comes from. It's not the logical space. It's much more, it is a feeling, but it's not governed by emotion in the same way. Although you could feel inspired, you could feel elated by that kind of sort of knowing or insight that you have. But it isn't this kind. It's impulsive in the sense that you feel inspired, but it's not impulsive like when you're feeling quite scared or afraid. That, you know, when you, often from fear, you'll kind of do something quite suddenly, but maybe that's not. Maybe that's coming from the emotional space. So there is a huge difference between acting from what you feel being your intuition and acting from an emotional place, which isn't so much guided by that. And it's a really good space to get into. It's the same space people get into when they meditate or just get a deeper awareness or a higher awareness of what you're doing, because when you set your intentions and know where you're going, it's really tapping into that intuitive space, that more creative space where ideas can come to you and you just get the answers that you want. Sometimes, of course, you need strategies and you need people to help you, but again, using your intuition is kind of often what gets you to the right place. And even if it seems a windy road and sometimes you can't fathom, but if you feel inside you know it's right and you can't fathom why it is unfolding a certain way or it feels like it's not, don't be too disheartened by that. If it still feels underlyingly that it's right for you, if you still feel it's going to get you there, it probably will. So I really just wanted to share that this evening, and hope that you guys can all start trusting your intuition more. Hi, Con, in Melbourne. And really acting from that place of flow. Alignment is when your thoughts, beliefs and actions all kind of line up, so you don't contradict yourself. So if what you feel inside is different to kind of how you're showing up and how you're kind of living and acting and being, then there'll always be this kind of internal tension. But the intuitive stuff is really the stuff that it's so gentle, it's so quiet, it's not the loud noises that kind of beat in your head, but it is something that you can't deny. You do feel it deep inside, and a lot of the stress and tension comes when we try and go against that instead of kind of step into it and start living in a bit more of almost like a freewheeling space where you don't always know the outcome, but you do feel quite strongly that you're somehow going along the right path. And yeah, I just want to encourage you to trust it, and I know that it works. So that's my message.